Welcome everybody at the CIPD Festival of Work. Welcome to our session on HR transformation projects and their pitfalls and remedies associated with those as well. My name is Oliver Smith. I'm the HXM account manager at Intelligence UK. And today I'm joined by my colleague and HXM solution director, Kulan Kandasamy, who comes from a background of over 15 years of HR transformation projects and how we can help make those projects more successful. So the brief agenda we're going to be taking you through today in this session is we're going to set the scene by showing the basis of our recommendations and our project experiences. Then we're going to be talking about HR transformation project pitfalls, the remedies associated with those for any organisation who might be considering a transformation in HR. We're then going to position the experience matters and why HXM is the new generation of HCM, and we're going to be positioning that with SAP success factors. Then there's going to be a short ending where we'll take some questions and answer those in due course. So to set the scene in the basis for our recommendations around HR projects, Intelligence, as you can see, are a global partner of SAP. SAP are one of the large enterprise software providers in the world. Globally, we're now nearly 10,000 employees, operate worldwide, and that's everywhere, including the UK. So we really have global coverage, and that's reflected on our client base as well. You have a number of both multinational companies and companies located purely in the United Kingdom as well. In terms of our experience with HR then, the key thing to point out here is we've done over 290 completed projects. And given that we're an SAP partner, all of those projects were completed with SAP success factors. And we took up 70 new projects last year. We're looking forward to continuing that trend and taking on more HR projects as the future goes on. Equally, we've had some success. And so not only have we done a large number of these projects, but we've also received some accolades in terms of SAP, winning Success Factors Partner of the Year for this year. It's also allowed us to develop a number of IP, including our Ready to Run package, which we'll be talking about a bit later in this session. So now to move on to the HR transformation project pitfalls and remedies, the main part of this session. Okay, so to get into the main portion of our presentation, I'm joined by my colleague Kulan Kandasamy, who is the HXM Solution Director at Intelligence. Kulan, would you like to say a couple of words to introduce yourself?
Sure, Ollie, thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Kulan Kandasamy and I work as a Solution Director at Intelligence. I've been working with HR stakeholders across multiple industries for more than 15 years, and I've personally gone through many HR transformation programs in varying capacities. Today, I'm going to share my experience in terms of common challenges faced in HR transformation programs and how you can overcome those challenges.
Okay, so Kulan, to start off with, what are the high-level areas that customers, businesses, organizations all fall down in when they're approaching a HR transformation?
Sure. So I would like to classify the pitfalls in three folds. So functional, technical, and organizational change management.
So to pick up the first point you said there around functional, would you be able to elaborate a bit more on what you mean and how we have come across those in our
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I've got four key areas that I want to focus on functional. The first one being misunderstanding the capability of the product. So this is the main pitfall. I would like to emphasize the fact that make sure the chosen product can deliver all your HR needs, and do a thorough due diligence and discovery of the product before you sign a contract with the vendor or the supplier.
Okay, so Kulan, on that point then, how would somebody who might be listening right now do that due diligence you just described?
I think the more interaction with the vendor, ask them to do more demos, give them your requirements, and make sure that all your requirements are met by the product. So you do a thorough due diligence. You go through a lot of discovery phase with them. You absolutely ask all the questions right at the beginning of the selection process.
So Kulan, you mentioned that due diligence piece. What are areas in the functional aspects do customers need to be aware of?
Okay, so the next one I would like to focus on is misunderstanding the scope of the program. So one of the main challenge is understanding and managing the scope. So I would recommend to make sure you understand the statement of work and the scope of each HR processes to avoid scope creep, which if not taken care will derail the whole program. The third point I would like to cover is unnecessary time spent on assist processes. When it comes to assist processes, avoid spending time on documenting them while you could spend that time understanding the change impact and how you can manage the change on the to-be processes. And the fourth one is designing custom process as opposed to adopting to standard. I think this is a classic mistake that every transformation program that fails. So make sure that you don't go about on designing your own processes. Adopt to standard because organizations always aspire to be agile, lean, and efficient, and hence embark on this transformation program. But the key to success is adopting to the best practice processes, which are naturally designed to be lean, so you don't end up supporting a custom, tedious processes at the end of the day in BAU.
Okay, so Kulan, you mentioned that point about customers adopting to standard and adopting to best practice. How would a customer look to do that?
So the best way to go about is document those to be processes and make sure you bring all the parties involved, all the stakeholders, and make them understand the new ways of working and give them that training needed for them to operate.
So we've covered the functional side of some of these projects. So to move our conversation on to more of a technical piece, Kulan, where on the technical side do people fall down on HR transformation projects?
Sure. So again, I've got four key areas that I would like to focus here on. So the first one being around integrations. So there's always a high chance that there's always some hidden and unknown integrations that will creep up in the middle of your transformation. So to avoid that, you need to have a proper high-level design documented by your enterprise architect or a solution architect, and make sure you go through a thorough due diligence around the document. Okay, the second point is around complex roles and authorization requirement. So the key here is document all those roles required and make sure you document the authorizations associated to those roles. Okay, so the third point I would like to cover is around having complex transitional states with minimal planning. So what I mean by complex transitional states, when you embark on this HR transformation, there's a high chance that you will drop your HR process in a staggered go live manner. So what this means is you will end up having a new system as well as your old BAU system and having to run with both of them at the same time. So you have to have a meticulous planning around how you are going to run with both the systems during this transitional state. And the fourth point is a classic one is around data migration. So you always end up having debates around how much of historical data that you're going to migrate to the new system. I think the key here is take the minimal required data for the systems to function and keep the rest of the historical data using a BW solution or a data warehouse solution.
Yeah, I think they're both quite interesting points, Kulan. We find through our projects at iTelligence exactly the same, that the technical areas in terms of data migration and process management is often overlooked, and they're some of the key influences why projects might go over budget or past their deadline as well. So we've covered off both the functional and technical areas of where people might fall down. In terms of the change management side of things, how can organisations avoid some of the pitfalls that we might have found in that?
Absolutely. So again, I've got four key areas to focus on change management. So the first one is identifying the right stakeholders. What I mean is involving right people at the right time is the paramount for the success of your transformation. Like key roles like change leads, business process owners, they need to be identified right at the beginning and involve them in the program. Okay, the second point I would like to focus is around understanding the role of change agents. So again, not only identifying them is crucial, but clearly defining their roles and responsibilities will enable success of the program. So the third point is around getting the right balance on communication. So you always have change management strategy at the beginning of the program, but equally, please have a communication strategy in place. Communication is an important element in the transformation program. So a tailored approach is very important, and your messages are apt for the stakeholder group and at the right intervals.
So Kulan, in that sense then, for people who might be on the line listening and might be in this very situation, who are the typical key stakeholders in HR transformation, and how would people identify those?
So at the beginning of the program, you have to have a stakeholder analysis map. So make sure that that stakeholder analysis map is robust and you've gone through your organization and various stakeholders involved, and you come up with a communication plan for each of those stakeholders. So the last one around change management is on a lack of training plan to wider users, as it's usually overlooked. Solution adoption by end users is a key to the transformation success. So a robust end user training plan is very important, which will make or break your success.
Thanks, Kulan, for going through that section with us. And I think it's really interesting to see some of the different pieces that you mentioned, like the data migrations, which might really be overlooked in other HR projects and you might not consider. So I think that was really useful. So I'm now actually going to hand back over to your good self to talk a bit about why experience matters and then how you can achieve HXM or human experience management with SAP SuccessFactors.
Thank you, Ollie. So now let's look at why HXM is the new HCM powered by SuccessFactors. I want to start with a fact here. Do you know organizations that deliver exceptional employee experience achieve better business results and outperform the competition? The key fact here is they realize 17% higher productivity and 3 times revenue per employee, and also 40% lower turnover. There is a significant gap between what employee thinks is happening and what actually is happening. So CEOs believe they are delivering a superior experience, but in reality, there's a huge gap. We call it experience gap. So the experience gap leads to low employee morale, poor collaboration, failure to innovate, and employee attrition. Okay, let's look at moments that matter. What I mean by moments that matter is employees typically go through different various events in their employee journeys, and traditionally we only capture their experience during exit interviews. But have you ever thought about other events like onboarding experience, for example, when they join your company, or when they return from parental leave, or when they go through a performance process? How about listening to them during these key events and combining that experience data with the actual operational data? So SAP SuccessFactors is all about giving you that rich insight around what's happening in your organization and at the same time why it's happening. I would like to introduce SAP SuccessFactors HXM suite. So SuccessFactors is our global people platform that enables organizations to deliver across the candidate experience, the employee experience, and the HR experience powered by Qualtrics. So SAP SuccessFactors is the only HCM suite that can bring you all the three elements together in order for you to deliver exceptional employee experience, which fundamentally improve the moments that matter. Okay, so far you have seen what SAP SuccessFactors can offer to improve employee experience. Now I would like to invite Ollie back, and we're going to talk about IT Ready to Run.
Thanks, Kulan. So for the people who are listening to the presentation, what is the IT Ready to Run solution that we're going to be positioning?
So IT Ready to Run is our own value engineering approach to transforming HR. So it's a framework that enables the customer to get up and running on SuccessFactors really quickly. It is our own IP and it's qualified by SAP.
Okay, great. Would you be able to talk us briefly through the three major points that everybody could see on the slides?
Of course. So the first one is our pre-configured SuccessFactors template for across all the modules. So as you can see, we have a number of HR processes which are pre-built in SuccessFactors, and ready-to-run solution are available across SuccessFactors suites. Like you can see on the left-hand side, like modules like recruiting, onboarding, learning, and performance, succession. So all these are pre-configured and ready to go.
So when you say pre-configured, does this mean that the client doesn't have their own footprint in the solution once they've implemented it?
No, so it is a pre-configured solution. What it means to the customer is they can adopt as it is, and we can include the customer footprints in the solution. So what the customer at the end of the day will get is best practice processes which are pre-configured with their own footprints in the solution.
Okay, great. Would you be able to talk to us a little bit about the HR process library as well?
Yeah, so the next one is around our HR process library. So we have an extensive library of process maps, which are as a result of our 15 years of experience in implementing real world HR transformation programs. We've got all that documented, and it's not system oriented, it's complete HR business processes. So anybody who's thinking of getting into best practices can adopt those business processes as it is.
So 250 is already quite a large number of business processes. Are we in the position to add more processes to that list?
Exactly like you said, 250 is a lot of processes, and we are not intending to add any more because that 250 process covers entire spectrum of HR. But what we are trying to do is we are trying to improve and enhance those processes to make it more lean, to make it more agile, so HR can improve on their own experience when they are trying to improve the employee experience.
Okay, cool. And so the last piece of this is the digital adoption platform. Would you be able to elaborate a bit more about what we mean and potentially what tools we use in that as well?
Yeah, sure. So digital adoption platform, this is what it is built-in user guidance, which will help to transform the user experience. So we've got a lot of templates already pre-configured. So all that, what we did was we've already made use of a couple of tools to make sure that the training element is captured. And it has inline help and scripted guidance to make the training really fast. So this can also even reduce or even eliminate the need for training in HR transformation implementations. Okay, so you have heard what IT.Ready to Run can offer. Now, Ollie is going to talk about a real world experience of where we applied our Ready to Run solution.
So in terms of how we've actually used this in a real world project, we have to anonymize this piece of work, but we're working with a global food and beverage company of about 7 billion turnover. And we rolled the solution using IT.Ready to Run as a basis. And this was across over 40,000 users worldwide. And some of the challenges we found when engaging this particular customer was a real HR transformation. So not just implementing a new system, but really changing the way that the customer looked after the employee experience and how they could monitor all of their employee data as well. And more importantly, they wanted a very agile implementation approach that could also fit to standard across the globe and across their entire global resource. So in terms of intelligence and what we've done, we provided the full project service. So that included all of the implementation, the consulting and advisory services, the change management pieces around this project as well. And this delivered ultimately all modules of SAP SuccessFactors using the IT.Ready to Run solution. And you can see some of the comments that our customer had on the slide as well. And we've got many more stories about how we've used this in other projects, not necessarily on the same scope, but across the world in different industries as well. Okay, so that wraps up the session. Myself and Kulan from iTelligence are looking to deliver at the CIPD Festival of Work today. I hope you found the session really informative and drove some real insight into potential projects you'll be looking at as well. If you have any questions around any of the stuff we've covered today, please reach out to myself or Kulan on the details in the slides. Equally, if you'd like to talk to us around your particular HR transformation project, we'd be happy to share some of our guidance and advice for how you could go about making that project a success. And we'd be happy to share some of our other customer case studies like the one I just spoke about as well. Thank you.